All right. So what I thought I would do today is I guess it's kind of a break from political art. I'm not entirely certain how much of a break it's actually going to be because there are a number of different dimensions to the work that I would like to try to get a complete reading of accomplished today. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. It's fairly long. It's a fairly long work, at least a chapbook, if not longer than a chapbook in a certain way. And the illustrations for it are mine in various different ways. I don't know if you can see this, but these are various, or maybe there are only two photographs of my arm upon which I drew with an ink pen, a bee, and there's another version of it on my hand and arm there. I don't know if you can see the bee. And then, yeah, I guess it's just the two images, and the two images then are, or maybe it is just even one image, but I think it's two. And then they're, processed utilizing whatever drawing program I had at that time when I created this, and reproduced in this symmetrical kind of manda-like way, right? To kind of hint at the idea of flower. So flower composed of these images, flower and or mandala composed of these images of this bee that I drew on my hand and my arm. And then there are more mandala-like images and other images, throughout the book. And the title of the book is The Idea of Flowers and Bees, and that's the central theme of the book. And it's dedicated to LC, and if you know who that is, then you do, and if you don't, you don't, and you can try to figure it out. The idea was, basically to take this theme, flowers and bees, and to explore it as in as many I don't want to say as many types of variations as possible, but I would say as many kinds of poetic variations as I was interested in at the time, and to be, in a certain way, engaged in the relationship between the theme. Sometimes people say the content and form and content, and separate those two things out. But there's always that relationship is always a metaphor, right? And it's either like, a stable metaphor, and you end up with, something like, a well-crafted urn, or it's a process metaphor, or it's more complex metaphor that involves different things, such as for example, like the way that we work with set theory. And so part of my engagement with all of this began with thinking about what Wallace Stevens does with 13 ways of looking at a blackbird. And of course, a section of this book, and we'll get to it. Let me go ahead and go to the next slide. A section of this book actually is pretty much just reworkings of Wallace Stevens, but with bees added. And bees are one of the few examples of non-human creatures who perform what in linguistics is called communicative displacement, which means it's an act of referring to something that isn't present, right, in the act of communication. So these bees, in their waggle dance and the other dance that they do, are capable of communicating with other bees the location of the resources they need, the flowers, the flowering plants, to produce honey and to support the hive, and so that idea of communication, belonging to the bees, and the relationship that the bees have with these flowers, and the mutuality of it, and the fact that the bee communication method is called a dance. All of that really interested me, and so the idea of language and dance, and then this metaphor of this relationship that's sort of open to all different kinds of possibilities. And this is the second page of the volume. Give you a better look at the image here. And go ahead and, because I want to read, the entire thing, I'll go ahead and read these brief little references here. To create a little flower is the labor of ages, William Blake. To both bee and flower, the giving and the receiving is a need and an ecstasy, Cahill Gibran. God grows weary of great kingdoms, but never of little flowers. Rabindranath Tagore. So let's see what the next page. Okay, so the next page is, this is the table of contents, and that second section is you'll see the one that I refer to as pretty much reworkings of Wallace. It's longer, but it's pretty much reworkings of 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, but with bees added. And bees added doesn't just mean supplementation, but the idea of the relationship between the flowers and the bees, metaphorizing that kind of way of considering whether there are 13 ways of doing so, or more or less, influenced by the theme itself, because it is like an open process understanding of what communication modes and metaphors and open-ended explorations like that mean, as opposed to the well-wrought urn or whatever other metaphor you might have. So the idea of flowers and bees, wasp and orchid, 13 ways of considering the idea of flowers and bees, 21 sightings in concert with the idea of flowers and bees, and a few of the 10 deer songs, and that's a pun, obviously, tender, 10 deer songs for Elsie. Okay. Wasp and orchid. Is it the orchid which through flattery and deception draws into itself the desire of wasp? Or is it the wasp which by means of self-effacement and mask pursues the pattern and fragrance of being in becoming orchid? Why is it that we always propose our questions of belonging so poorly? Why always express to excess the predicates of our longing so shortly? Why mystical revelations in mere metaphors and meanderings, or this fragile conception of mimesis as both root and blossom of our most enduring and least definable passions? Why must we always behold in the twin flower the regard and return of something far less certain and far more certainly other? Why must we remake and remold from the unity of two the meaning and absolute value of one minus another? Why, while knowing that each of our parts cohere to the whole, do we continue to cleave the thread drift of tendrils from the perfection of stone. "13 ways of considering the idea of flowers and bees." 1. Bareness wolf-fed, bareness flower-red, fondled, flowing, and foul-bred, fool's bred, in sea-brew enfolds, worrisome fables, and insane flower-beds. Owl fern, seer beads, and the blessings of snowstorm, Odin's white, tree-beard, timid, willow wrens, and deer songs. Soft, free-wheeled ions and whiffle trees, forest dew, brittle leaf, and soft white lamb's wool, heron howl shrines, woof whirls and wishing wells, elfish foils, swift fishes and thrift, stone wheel, heart song, briarwood, felt and rowel, steel, sleet, and storm. Two, form, pattern, or fixture of composition, keynote, subject, theme, and conception, apparatus of capture, adventure, and return, a virtue by this or any other name. Examples, i.e., niche, features, an attribute of time, terrain, or memory. Fish don't fly, no, bees can't swim in the sea. Hive is home, honeycomb, wine cellar, museum, or shrine. Flower is oxygen, life spring, order and source. Head, thorax, and abdomen function as structure, calyx, corolla, pistil, and stamen as forms articulating the process of achieving destiny or arbitrary goal. This is still the simple version. Wings to fly, barb and poison sac, so that others won't want to wonder so much why. Three, tenderly the temptress holds his heart in her hands. Every existence, each entity endures, expires, evolves. I intend infinitude, invent images, inquire inward into ideas, deny doubts, deepest desires, darkness, dear, dearer, dearest unto death. Every existence, even emptiness, evinces eternity, exceeds epilogue, angel, animal, apsis, aphelion, and apposite abstraction. Unto old owl, oaktree, obdurate, and open-eyed Odin offers oracle. Forlorn, freya forecasts formlessness and frenzy, foul, forevermore. Foxfire, flame, flicker, fluorescent, and fool's frowning full moon. Ladybug landing lightly on lackadaisical and lackluster laburnum. Unto old owl, oak tree, obdurate, and open-eyed Odin offers onomatopoeias and orisons. Whippoorwills whirl and wolves wander westward woods of wondrous whence-wherever world. Every existence, everything, everywhere, effigy, ephelium, and electron exalts, exhilarates, exhorts, exhales. Recall, remember, regardless, revelation, revolution, and return. Slowly, something seaborn speaks swiftly, severing the sheer silence. Angel, animal, apsis, aphelion, or apposite, abstraction, nightmarish nocturnes of the nonsensical nightingales, and non-tropo notes from the numinous night owls. Deny doubt's deepest desires, darkness dear unto death. Because of blackbirds, blueberries, bumblebees, and briars, the brevity of the breathtaking and the breach, every existence, even emptiness, evinces eternity, exceeds epilogue. Every existence, each entity endures, expires, evolves. Slowly, some seeking seer speaks swiftly, severing the sheer silence. Four. As I write these lines, a honeybee traverses the edge of the plastic planter at the front of the yard, searching for whatever flower might still be in bloom. Thin veins of spider thread tangle and splay, glistening in the sunlight across the fullness. Between she and I, remember me to transform the image of this moment into the music of words. Little ant crawling here next to my feet on the plywood ramp. He and I helped build for your dad. You still behind me, almost silent, and now initiating conversation with your laughter. Memories, fantasies of this tiny present of what is right and still, yet now. Remind me to set down my pencil and watch the way sunlight touches your mouth as I begin to listen to you speak. Five. A great long time ago, prior to the dawn of human civilization by far, and even before the origin of those creatures who nurse and bear fur, the mystical society of flowers and bees held conference concerning the topic of all things that are sweet. At its outset, the flowers insisted that part of their life cycle following their passing should remain sufficient to the desires and needs of whatever species of animal might evolve, bearing the disposition given to feed upon them. The bees, however, adamantly disagreed, arguing that the kingdom of non-photosynthesizing beings would greatly suffer during periods of harsh winter in which fruits would no longer be available. This, they pointed out, would also be disadvantageous to the kingdom of non-mobile beings, since they too greatly benefit from the actions and doings of the self-locomotive. After considerable debate, the organization of flowers conceded the argument to the bees, and together the two communities proceeded to develop the idea of a sticky golden substance called honey, a food source richer in calories and sweeter than any known fruit, and able to withstand practically all natural conditions of weather for periods extending beyond any potential duration of famine, fallow, and drought. The organization of flowers then agreed to provide the materials necessary for this substance's manufacture, while the bees consented to perform the labor required to complete its production. To this day, the mystical society of bees continue to generate this product. I'm sorry. To this day, the mystical society of flowers and bees continue to generate this product, and both organizations concur that it remains the greatest idea any cooperative society of their two species, or for that matter, of any other, has ever had. And those, of course, are the dogs barking in the background. That's Caspar Hauser's learning curve right there. That's at the growling one. 6 and 7. 1. Among 20 centuries of secrets guarded ever so vigilantly by the keeper of the golden flower, only one was the gleam of desire in the honeybee's eye. 2. Between flower, bee, and eye, there emerged a complexity of 3 minds, like the division of an insect's body, a branch upon which there are 3 flowers, or the spaces between 4 separate words. Three. Yes, claimed the bee. I whispered in the whirling wind with the willows and the wild. 1. It was either the earliest part of winter, 2, or the last remainder of fall. Not so, responded the bee. It was I who whispered all along and alone. 1. And it was either the outset of spring, 2, or some midsummer night's imagining I had in a dream, and both were correct, and yet each of these whispers played only a small part in the pantomime of their seasons. 4. Witch and shaman are flower, shaman and witch, buzzing bumblebee, are 1 in 4 and 4 in 1, witch, shaman, flower, bee. Five. The care the bee provides the flower, the food the flower provides the bee. Why would we want to separate these? 6. Barbaric glass fills the living room, dining room, and hall like icicles clinging to the darkest recesses of the mind. Still, the shadows of bees and flowers remind us of who we are. 7. Oh, crazy Taoists of Quanzhen, why do you waste your time in meditation contemplating the secrets of the golden flower? Can't you see the perfect home of honey the bees have left upon your doorstep? 8. It is not what we always already know, lucid, inescapable, rhythmic, which draws us to it like bee to flower, but that which remains so steadfastly uncertain that our moment toward it expresses something essential and ineluctable involved in ourselves, which we cannot elide and must come to embrace in considering the idea of flowers and bees. Nine. The idea of flowers is only one of many circles, and so is the idea of bees. How fortunate for us that such circles intersect and overlap one another in ways often unexpected and unanticipated, even when their edges extend well beyond the limits of our perception, cognition, and imagination. Of the bee which clings to the falling petals of winter's final reddest rose beneath the pale blue caresses of the December moon, even the poets of the greatest mysteries, mystics, seers, and visionaries cannot find the words to speak. Even in the shadows, it is possible to discover the bee embraced by and embracing flower. And even in the shadows devoid of such embraces, it is still possible to consider the idea of the embracings of bees and flowers. The sun rises again today at dawn because there are still honeybees, because there are still flowers. 13. It was evening all afternoon. It was snowing. It was not snowing. And it was only going to snow. The honeybee slept beneath the petals of the snowdrop flower. Eight. Hard to figure how we ended up here in this bizarre county of deeply and steadfast natural beauty. Fine wines and cannibals, smiling tigers, liars and thieves, so close and yet so far away. Away from anywhere we've ever cared to call home, any one of those places we've lived together in this life or before. Sunny yet weirdly violent suburbs of San Diego, harsh, wintry outskirts of xenophobic Long Island, thriving Astoria along the East River across from that great city, both of us still baffled and confused by the unlikely prospects of limited employment incorporated, contracts signed and then rescinded with excuses a bit too strange or brewed so very bitter to be anything other than impossible to swallow. For the rest of our lives together, this time, through perhaps that idea I had concerning the keeping of bees, or if that doesn't work out either, something as simple as growing a garden so that we can still sit together along the side of the road. That's Fiverr. Maybe I'll pause, let him do his thing. Hey, Five, can I read this? Fiverr. He's barking because there's a bus stop for school children outside of our house, and then so and pretty much at this time of day he gets to bark at people outside. I have the window closed, but it doesn't help. He can hear, and he does his thing. Let's see if I can start again. Once he hears my voice, he'll probably kick in again. For the rest of our lives together, this time through, perhaps that idea I had concerning the keeping of bees. And so to break out of reading, since I already have because of Fiverr, I had been keeping, or learning how to be a beekeeper at an abbey, a local abbey near where we lived in Oceanside, California, and that was a Benedictine abbey in a on a hill, and the bees we kept were in a box canyon, because we found that this was the time, the point at which there was such a thing as colony collapse disorder, and that meant these bees kept leaving, and your colony would essentially collapse because these worker bees wouldn't return to the hive. And we did some experimenting, and we found that if we put it in this box canyon in which you couldn't get a cell phone signal because there was cell phone towers all around, that the bees would come back. And so our assumption, or working hypothesis, regarding colony collapse disorder was that the cell phone signals got in the way of bees' ability to communicate with one another and confuse them, whether that was their ability to find their way home or perform the waggle dance and the round dance, which was the communication of flowers. I don't think that was the issue, because there were flowers pretty much everywhere, but I think somehow it interfered with the bee navigation system. So probably something outside of their communication ability or cognition or whatever it is, but but something, that interference, with their ability to navigate. Anyway, I'll start again from this point. Maybe I should start again from the beginning, actually. Let me go back and see how we can do. Okay, 8. Hard to figure how we ended up here in this bizarre county of deeply and steadfast natural beauty, fine wines and cannibals, smiling tigers, liars and thieves, so close and yet so far away from anything we've ever cared to call home. Any one of those places we've lived together in this life or before, sunny yet weirdly violent suburbs of San Diego, harsh winter outskirts of xenophobic Long Island, thriving Astoria along the East River across from the great city, both of us still baffled and confused by the unlikely prospects of limited employment incorporated, contracts signed and then rescinded, with excuses a bit too strange or brewed so very bitter to be anything other than impossible to swallow. For the rest of our lives together this time through, perhaps that idea I had concerning the keeping of bees, or if that doesn't work out either, something as simple as growing a garden so that we can still sit together along the side of the road, selling flowers to those who no longer remember or never learned the secret names, languages, and meanings of flowers, something like that for the remainder of this one. And for the next, I'm open to whatever you choose, as long as we can still remain together and never live among the monkeys ever again. And I should probably explain that. That's sort of quoting our cat. We had this idea that because we were living with Lori's family at that time, and our cat was constantly making these noises of disgust, when she'd get moved or relocated and wasn't happy, in this location. And we used to joke, it's like the cat making fun of the monkeys being us, basically, that they can't see in the dark and don't know to leave cats alone when they're, resting and all these other things. Anyway, so that's kind of a quotation. Well, it's not really a quotation, but it's from the perspective of the language that we gave to our cat, who was very unhappy in this particular situation. 9. 3 4 2 7 3 4 1 3 1 2 1 1. X X X. Definite article, noun, preposition, noun, conjunction, noun, singular, plural, and plural, the form or appearing of a thing, as opposed to its reality, belonging to or possessing such a quality or characteristic, seed-producing structure of the angiosperm, the best or finest part of such a thing, in addition to or in consequence of or from a union, but also an afterthought, pollen and nectar gathering insect belonging to the order Hymenoptera, ants, wasps, and bees, specifically the Apoidea, a social gathering organization to perform in the assistance of some required task as voluntary or compulsory service, or simply the letter B. Ten. Sakpui Jamukjo Ya Ayet. 11. Flowers, flowers, flowers. Flowers. Bees. Bees. And obviously there are a number of different ways you could read that. You could break it down and you could read l l l o o o flowers e bees e s, 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 s. Or, like I said, since it's a concrete poem, the possibilities are numerous. Let's try some of them. FFF, LLL, OOO, FLOW, BERS, EEBs, RRER, SSSS. Flow, flow, flobber, flower bee, EEBs, rebees, flow bee, flow beer, flow, 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 flower bees, like I said, many possibilities. Tupelo honey, inflorescent, ranunculi. This is a difficult word for me. Let me try again. Ranunculosia. Well, you just guess. Tupelo honey, inflorescent, ranuncleosea, thriaic, electrostasis, enchanting, nightshade, meristemic, iris, nebular, umbra, sweetbriar, olive, negative, episteme, witch hazel, amuzin cab, yarrow, sunflower, orchid fennel. Conceiving only now, sensing in death, everything reveals inward, nothing governs. Tolkut, hermaphrodite, and Tomophily, interstellar, dugnag, aeolian, arola, olive, forget-me-not, bindweed, elder, egalantine, sage, and figural languages, ontological whirls, eusocial, revolutionary swirls. 13. As first spring of the Cretaceous, era of flowering grasses and seed, as echo of primordial dawn and the initial beatings of wings, as unions of labor and love in factories without either, and bearing profits solely for one, as the ephemeral grace of promise and desire given to the rose flower which blooms in the wild, as light dancing in time across distant seas and brilliant galaxies, as allegory of what it what is yet still longed for, and what is still possible, but not yet set, as the night flight of the boundless feral embraced by the passion of moonlight, as enduring faith that each and every season turns once again toward and into a new insight, as intoxicating perfumes exchanged between amorous beings in the bliss of love, as heat's commitment to the flame and fuel's commitment to the stove, as music, the constellations sing to the stars without names, as symbol of the circle remains unseen, as image of infinitude and those memories to which we cling and from which we dream. "21 sightings in concert with the idea of flowers and bees." 1. A jade tree in full flower, sparkling under mid-morning winter's gentle sun, and completely covered in buzzing bees. To point to such things, to make of such things, to recall what is sacred and imminent in such things. 2. This single golden honeybee, at rest upon the glossy surface of this single coastal oak leaf, from among so many possibilities of bees, from among so many possibilities of leaves. 3. The pink petals of this solitary geranium, wilting, still damp from the last night's rainwater, thinking perhaps of hummingbirds or of honeybees. I kind of messed up on this one. Let me reread it. 3. The pink petals of this solitary geranium, wilting, still damp from last night's rainwater, thinking, perhaps, of hummingbirds or of honeybees. Four, a song about a flower, or was it a bee? As blood-red sun sets silently into stillness, as burning song settles slowly into silence. Five, bees upon the rosemary cemetery, sitting and tears. Six, dreams of water and leavings and false promise to return. Throughout the night, once again, women's voices calling my name, but this morning, although I looked for them everywhere, there are no honeybees. Seven, forgive me for stealing these Few fresh sage leaves, little sister bees, but I'm certain enough still remain to build your honeycomb and gather the rain. Eight. After walking for hours, why this dilapidated bench to rest upon? Perhaps only to sit beside this solitary honeybee, perhaps just to think and write such things about her. Nine. Traveler's melons with a taste of cucumber, ripe alongside the edge of the road, are also gifts provided by the bees. Ten. Walking barefoot in the tall grass, mindful of sow-bugs and bees, remembering early springs and other winters like these. "11. In the mission chapel there are no bees, but the scent of white rose, orchid, and gladiolus lingers and mingles with the odor of burning honey wax. I had expected buzzing bees among the olive trees, but what I found were only wind chimes, quiet in the stillness and displaying silent images of bees and other creatures bee-like, or at least reminiscent of bees. "13. Little bee flower, who made thee a bee flower? Dost thou know who made thee a bee flower? The mystical voices of our catechism say," is it catechism or cataclysm? It probably should have been catechism, but it says cataclysm. I'm going to read it as catechism. 13. Little bee flower, who made thee a bee flower? Dost thou know who made thee a bee flower? The mystical voices of our catechism say, we made thee a bee flower, just as we made this one a shaman, and the other a witch. "14. Today, upon the mown grass, all of the birds within the circle of my vision sang with one song, so that it almost seemed one great single song." I think I said that wrong. Let's try it again. 14. Today, upon the mown grass, all of the birds within the circle of my vision sang with one voice, so that it almost seemed one great single song of falling leaves and humming bees. 15. A song a noisy crow sang from the top of a pine tree, while flowers and bees went about their business below. From the treetop, where I am shouting about everything. From the treetop, where I am shouting. 16. Another song that the same noisy crow sang from the top of a pine tree, while flowers and bees kept on going about their business below. From here I am, no longer silent. From here I am, crying out. From here I am, no longer silent. From here I am, revealing it all, crying out. From here I am, crying out. From here I am, no longer silent, crying out, revealing it all. From here I am, crying out. From here I am, caw-caw, 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 caw-caw. "17. Within the thorny cotton blossoms fallen from the sincere cactus, which greets those guests to the mission at San Luis Rey, little black clusters of seeds, moist, sticky, and sour, delicious. Breakfast I share with a sparrow, far less capable of opening such a package than I. Then, my gift in return, the sight of a honeybee among the lemon yellow clusters of blossoming agave." "18. Mysterious shadows in flight over the sand-pink adobe, glittering in the embrace of full morning sunlight, a red-throated hummingbird flitting amongst the crimson feathers of the wild bottlebrush bean vine." "19. Today, light and shadow dancing upon the olive branches over a sparkling surface of wet stones and splashing water. And today also, honeybees among the blue-gray clusters of blooming rosemary, where the olive trees rest blanketed within the hedge." "20. Cadmium yellow daisies, so brilliantly saturated in light that I almost fail to notice the tiny mountain fly bee diligently extracting nectar from their crowns." "21. Yesterday before dawn, pissing bitterly behind the bird of paradise, and this morning, after day-old sweet rolls purchased with our last dollar and change, a gathering of ladybugs where the sign at the trail break fails to warn of trespass." "10 Dear Songs for LC. Secret Worlds, or Secret Words, depending on which way you would like to read it. Twinflower, Explorer's Gentian, Nuttle's Pussy Toes, Deerweed, roundleaf bluebell, Indian pink, little pipsissewa, beargrass, rattlesnake plantain, elephant head, fringe cups. I think it says finge, but I think it should be fringe cup. I'm not sure. Tiger lily. A long time to wait between love letters. 18 years is a long time to wait between love letters. Longer still to hold one's breath in the foyer of hope, dream, and desire. Yet again, perhaps, one's sensitivity to the nuances of words and characters increases as the unfulfilled years lengthen and drag on. Perhaps the spaces between actions and words grow larger in volume and compass in the course of such waiting, in the way that the loss of sight gives rise to a subtler sensitivity to the expressions of touch, taste, sound, and scent. To wait in the darkness is always difficult, which explains the invention of stars, the rise of the new moon, the glow of phosphor, and the great movement of the aurora borealis, in which the letters of your name are inscribed, and there too in Polaris. It seems you're easy to place in the night sky. 18 years is a long time to wait for anything at all, yet they say witches have a different sense of the passage of time than those who live under the weight of more burdensome illusions, that for them even the stones are sacred and alive. Murmuring, however, obdurate and certain of the endurance of passion and the patience of resolve, so then perhaps it really should be no great and incomprehensible surprise that even your hair possesses such strange and awesome power over man and machine, and probably meaning itself as well. No great surprise that the wild rose speaks so well of you, while the garden variety cannot. No surprise that only hoarsely can the winter wind whisper each of the phonemes which compose your name. And that last one, is you could look at it as a riddle, and I I highly encourage you to do so. Yeah. To seek in couplet the meaning of couplet, to search in droplet for the maker of rain. As we move from amber Capricorn into silver Aquarius, as we find ourselves betwixt and between, as we make our way into the 25th year of our life together, as we seek in the dry veins of language that desperate ore of the indefinite image, as we seek in couplet the meaning of couplet, as we approach our time in silver, still uncertain of the meaning of silver, still uncertain of our time, still uncertain of ourselves, yet weirdly certain of each other. In this way, we look to define such a time hexatahedral in design, bright, metallic luster, but darkening into tarnished. Silver is the best conductor of electricity, only impractical in the use of wiring, one of the two truly hard currencies, lighter and easier to carry than gold, simpler and less ostentatious, humbler perhaps in its greater deference to the power of time, less triumphant perhaps, but much more realistic than its cousin, the eternally glittering metal. I've searched each of the pixels in every one of the depictions of each and every yantra in the book of Tantra Asana for that color which would describe those so few silver strands woven through your hair, but found not a hint or clue in any one of them. The book itself, purchased years ago, as you recall, with so many stolen silver coins, confessed the poverty of both its promises and its powers. Yet if our passage into silver speaks only of impermanence and change, if at first it seems only to silence our rainbowed and iridescent dreams, thought there was going to be more. Oh, there is more. Yet in such silence glisten and glimmer those rare silver threads which remind me of this, that this is the sacred world and that paradise is now. Let me go back and see if I missed this section in the other one. No, I did not. Okay, very good. Before and after the rain. From the outset, we anticipate that the selected task will fail, not because we will it so or refuse entirely the gifts which emerge from it within the oneness, but because the struggle with doubt that lies within will not allow us to love as completely as we can, as we would like to, as we would wish to, meaning simply how difficult to write of love from a place where deception fades, how fraught with danger, not less the failure of love's revelation, the failure of mind and body as well, as my twisted ankle, my wounded arms, and my indecisive purpose all seem to indicate. Having lost the 2 tiny hearts I carved for you in the simple task of doing the laundry, I set before me the most difficult hill I have struggled slowly to define, to create an image of love and desire from the climb away from ego, on the incline to the spirit world of remembered dreamings and eternal promises of the divine. I lied when I told you I created this object. The idea to make it for you was mine, but the materials, the concepts, and the first series of moves all came from elsewhere, weird place where the individual and the harmony of the wonderment merge, however fleetingly, until shattered by the commission to cross purposes. The idea of flowers and bees came from the vision speakers, and the reference to King Solomon took me quite a while to follow. That I am such a little bee searching for you and myself in one and the same flower. I really didn't get that part either, not until you discovered the second of those laundered hearts, so miraculously having survived my forgetfulness and lack of care. Even now, to worry that such a gift will not complete the measure of my love, that its construction should prove weak, unstable, and unsound, that in bringing these 2 loves together I have neglected both. Eyes on the hill, heart in my pocket. Where was I going again? No matter. Has anyone seen a little pair of paper hearts? Mule deer, which is obviously a pun on mule deer, right? Hern the horned returns heavy from the hunt, deep within the heart of the holy wild. Across the heath he carries at homecoming a hard wood log of seasoned hickory, to feed the flames roaring in the heat of the hearth. Home is the hunter, home from the green, heather black hound at his heel. Home is the horned man from betwixt and between, torn from the darkest spoke of the wheel, given freely each and every one of the ventures, hard earned, gifted each of all of the returns. Portents pondered naked in the cold night air, breezes and winds which whisper wordless wonders and wanderings through the last of the fallen leaves and the dry, brittle weeds, slender silver of waning crescent, magus star of Cernunnos awakening, merging from and into the chthonic full dark of new moon, first and final winter runes. Indices and signs of both the new innocence and the resolutely dissolute words from the lips of those who witness, welcome me, worship me, desire and destroy me, sense and sensorabilia, sought within boxes brought by the magi, finally now nearly meaningless against the welcoming webs and wings of the not yet wasteland wilderness. Doors of this house remain open windows, doors forever closed shut, a dialogos of forms, which questions are answers like call and response, or the thunderous echo of scream inside the shimmer of silence. Palindrome to and from circle, and circle from spiral or sphere, sphere back to root or further onwards toward and into square, cotton bags, steel blades, dried beans, or unhulled grains. A scrawl of indecipherable words incised in pencil across the page. You try to remember what you've left behind. You try to restore what you've always forgotten. You try, you try, you try. Mr. Percy Jones. This is again a reference to a cat. Mr. Percy Jones is just the name that we gave to this poor cat that was abandoned somewhere, and unfortunately we would have probably adopted him, but our cat didn't like Mr. Percy Jones, so we had to find a home for him. He was, I believe, if I recall, outside, crying in the rain when we first found him. He was very noisy and quite communicative. So this is Mr. Percy Jones. And of course, I should stop. And it's also a reference to Percy Jones, the prog rock and jazz, or fusion jazz, bassist too, right? Okay, so I mean that's where the cat that's how I named the cat Percy Jones. Must have been something about the cat's voice that reminded me of Percy Jones bass playing. Of course, we knew from the start that Mr. Jones would make it, since he still had each of the 9 lives he'd been given at birth, like the shaman who found him, probably twice as many names, and probably most of all because at least one of these they shared, uncanny as it seems, because both Mr. Jones and the shaman who found him always already knew just exactly when, where, why, and how to cry, I am, I became, I come into being, in order to be known by such a name.